You think you can tell when someone is lying. A pause, a glance away, arms folding across the chest, and your gut whispers that they are hiding something. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Out of everything you try to read on another human being, spotting honesty is the exact thing your biological instincts get wrong the most. Once you understand why, you can stop relying on guesses and start actually reading people. We are going to replace those unreliable gut feelings with a concrete 5-step system that works in your very next conversation. And none of this requires a psychology degree. To see how this works, we are going to break down some conversation tape right now. We'll build the system step by step on the right, so you can walk out and use it tomorrow. Relying on your initial gut instinct is a fake head start, and it usually costs you the whole read. True reading requires a systematic checklist, and that starts by defining what normal actually looks like. Step 1 is the step impatient people always skip. You build a baseline. For the first 2 minutes of any interaction, you do absolutely zero interpreting. A baseline is simply a person's resting state when nothing is wrong. You gather this by asking easy, low-stakes questions about traffic or the weather. You watch their default hand movement, how fast they talk, and where they hold their tension. Look at 2 drastically different baselines. Maya, on top, talks with her whole body. Theo, on bottom, sits perfectly still. If you walked in cold, you might think he is defensive, but that's just Theo. Trading the baseline for a quick guess causes errors. The real signal is a sharp break from their established normal. If Maya, who never stops moving, suddenly goes still and quiet, that contrast matters, because it is a departure from her normal state. The physical cue, sitting still, didn't change, but the baseline did. Without knowing a person's starting point, any observation you make is entirely meaningless. That brings us to step 2. Stop reading single cues and start reading clusters. Think of a single cue like a single word, and a cluster as the full sentence. One gesture means almost nothing on its own. Crossed arms might mean someone is closed off, but it could just as easily mean the room is cold or the chair lacks armrests. By itself, it is just noise. A cluster is 3 or 4 distinct signals happening at the exact same time, all pointing in the same emotional direction. Now we have crossed arms, plus a torso turned away, plus eyes drifting toward the door. These stacked cues tell a story that a single arm never could. Watch for micro-expressions, raw emotional flashes crossing the face in 1/25th of a second. Catching a flicker of disgust before a polite smile folds perfectly into your cluster. If you build a theory about a person from a single twitch without a supporting cluster, you don't have a read, you just have a guess wearing a costume. This chart shows the results of a study involving 379 players across 8 different countries in a tense game of bluffing. It brings us to step 3, letting go of what body language actually cannot reveal. The researchers measured everything from voice volume to facial muscles. They found that dominance and control practically glow in the body. Louder voices and bigger head movements made comfort and confidence highly predictable to read. But the researchers discovered a blunt truth about trustworthiness. Honesty is clearly not predictable from nonverbal signals. The very thing you most want to know is the thing the human body hides best. Here is the overlap that confuses everyone. A stressed truth teller looks identical to a liar. Those classic deception cues, fidgeting, sweating, avoiding eye contact, are actually just generalized stress cues. The honest person is stressed about being doubted, while the calm con artist sits perfectly still because lying costs them nothing. You have to stop trying to read people for lies. Instead, pivot your focus entirely to reading for tension versus ease. Reading for comfort is much more practical than playing lie detector. It tells you exactly how to respond and adapt to the person in front of you, right now in the present moment. Once you can read comfort, step 4 gives you a way to influence it. Subtle mirroring. You gently echo the other person's posture, speaking pace, and energy to build psychological safety. Your brains are actually wired for this. When someone subconsciously notices you matching their rhythm, a quiet signal fires telling them that you are safe and that you are like them. But there is an absolute limit. If you copy their exact movements a second later, the interaction flips from warmth to mockery. The rule is simple: match the mood, not the movements. Step 5 keeps you honest with yourself. Verify with questions. No matter how accurate your read feels, it remains a hypothesis until spoken words confirm it. If you ask a closed question like, "Are you okay?" you will trigger a reflexive fake answer, "Fine." Instead, you need open-ended questions like, "What's on your mind?" Real research shows that we drastically underestimate how much others actually want to connect. Most of the time, the person on the other side is quietly relieved that you bothered to ask. The read provides the context. The right open-ended question provides the confirmation, turning a silent guess into a shared understanding. Let's put all 5 steps together in a rapid 90-second coffee date scenario. First, you log their fast-talking baseline. 20 minutes in, you spot a sudden, still cluster. You recognize the spike in discomfort. You soften your own energy to mirror them, taking the pressure off, and then you verify by asking how they are feeling. Here is your homework for tomorrow. Do not try to run all 5 steps at once. Walk into one ordinary conversation and do nothing but practice steps 1 and 2. Establish the baseline and look for clusters. By abandoning the fantasy of being a human lie detector and focusing on reading whole people for comfort, you stop jumping to conclusions and become someone others feel genuinely understood by. If this system gave you a clearer way to look at the people around you, take a second to subscribe and like the video, and drop a comment telling us what you want the next breakdown to cover: a high-stakes job interview or a first date. We read those comments and they decide what we make next. Thanks for watching.